Hey everyone, it's Scott with Dallas Sound Guys, and today we're rocking the Baker Staging Polo. Baker Staging is a company in Wisconsin that'll do some contract work for. I've worked with John for, oh goodness, it's over 10 years, got to be 12 or 15 years or so. And so today I have a story for you from an event when I was working with Baker Staging, and it involves a Mackie board as well as this Behringer interface. There's a client that I've had the pleasure of working with for quite a long time. It seems like almost 10 years, been working with them as well in Tennessee. And we would bring full AV, full production in, and but the hotel that they're at now, it wants to be using all of their own equipment. So an outside AV company is not allowed to necessarily bring in their own stuff, but we can run the hotel's equipment. So we were brought in for labor only. And in this situation, they were using a board very similar to this. It was a Mackie 1402. And for their PA system, they had, I believe they had 4 QSC K12 speakers for the room, as well as using the ceiling speakers. The QSC speakers sound fine. They sound really good. But the ceiling speakers, that just never sounds fantastic. And in fact, on the final day, we had a separate room where it was ceiling speakers only for their closing keynote speaker, as well as all wrap up parts to their conference. So I brought some secret sauce into that. Real quick, let me speak on the Mackie board. This is an analog board that has a lot of use. It works fantastic. This thing's built like a tank. It has 6 microphone inputs as well as 4 stereo inputs for like laptops or things such as that. But of course, it's limited in what it can do. You can shape the sound. You can kind of shape both the lows, the mids, and the highs a little bit, but it's just a really broad range of what you are, what you're doing when you make any corrections with that, compared to, say, a digital board like the X32 or the -M32 that I'm used to using, where there's just so much that you can do. So the secret sauce was using this Behringer. It's the U-Phoria UMC 404 HD. It's an audio interface that I keep in my backpack, along with all the cables that I need for it. So on the back of the Mackie board, what it has is an insert, these 1/4-inch insert points for the microphone channels. And so that's how I ended up using this, is that this has 4 inputs, and I inserted 4 instances of this interface on channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. We were using 2 wireless microphones for this event. We had a handheld microphone on a stand at the podium anytime that someone from the conference needed to come up and present material. And there was also a lav microphone, like a tie clip style mic, for any one of their keynotes that wasn't going to be standing at a podium. In fact, we had a lot of, a few presenters that would walk the room, which they were able to do just fine with the wireless systems that were provided. But especially with a lav, you have this balance of, you need enough volume, but without the EQ control, you can only get so much volume before you're going to run into some feedback. So you're playing this game of, is it loud enough versus does it sound good? And it's a tough spot to get into. So how does this work out? Well, with this interface, what this allows me to do is then connect the interface not only to, in this instance, 4 channels of an analog board, which would be our 2 microphones and some other things that we were using, but then also connect this by way of USB to my laptop, where I was running Waves brands plugins. Now with Waves, that allows me to insert in the signal chain on the analog board things that this board absolutely cannot do. And that is the secret sauce. It's incredible to be able to insert a low cut filter where I can control what frequency that is at. On the analog board, it is set at I'd have to look here. I don't know if it's 80 or 100 hertz, but it's fixed. If you engage it, you get what you get. You can't adjust it at all. On the EQ on this, again, there's a high, a mid, and a low on the Mackie board, but I had full parametric EQ using Waves plugins, 31 band EQ using Waves plugins, and also a compressor, which this analog board does not feature at all. With the EQ, what I can actually do is, before anyone's in the room while you're setting up audio, and I'll do this all the time, I'll start to raise the volume of the microphone so that where it wants to start feeding back, you find that frequency and you pull that frequency out. Very, very narrow, just that frequency alone. Continue to raise the volume, you'll find another treble area, and then you can remove that frequency as well. What it does is it gives you the capability of having a whole lot more volume than you would with a board such as this. And it can really save you from having some issues where you have a soft-spoken presenter, or if someone with a handheld, especially when we had a handheld up at the podium, they don't always stand in the same spot. Some people are just afraid of speaking and they'll back away from the podium. Super difficult to hear this person, can only turn it up so loud without running into problems. This gives me more volume out of a situation like that where you can hear a person just fine. Now the compressor, we can get into that at another point, or there's plenty of videos online that you can find, is it's going to even out the volume where a person might be speaking softly, or then they start really presenting in a loud or dramatic fashion or something with some power behind it. I can raise the volume for the quiet parts and leave it there, because when they're speaking louder, it'll start to bring those down. It'll give you a much more even flow. In another video, we'll talk about how that's super important for recording. So in any case, in this video, again, I just wanted to talk about where if I'm ever in a situation in that I'm limited by what I have, where I'm like, boy, wouldn't it be nice if I could control, and then you name what it is I'm trying to control. In many cases, this allows me to do that. Keep this in my backpack. I keep my laptop with all the software in there and the cables that I need to control it. And it can really get me out of a tight spot where whatever's provided for me, or whatever I'm allowed to bring, or whatever it is that I need to use, you can get the results that you're looking for. Always just want to make sure that that your client sounds their absolute best. And this is the secret sauce that on a few occasions has really allowed me to do that. So again, I hope this helps out. I think it's learning some of the tools that are available to us. It's helped me over the years. I think it's incredible to be learning more and more. That way, when someone such as Baker Staging, if they trust to bring me in, that I can give them and their clients the best results possible. Or if it's a client of mine, that I just make sure they're like super thrilled. Maybe even giving them more that they were even expecting, to give them a finished product where everything just sounds flawless to them. I mean, that's my goal. So, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions and you're like, why wasn't this good enough? Or what could I do to have that? Or can you go into more depth in this? I'd love to start that conversation. Maybe there's some things that I could learn, or some of the experiences that I've had, even like what I've just shared, that I could get into even more detail and share how some of these tools have, once again, just really helped my clients sound their absolute best. All right, so thanks again for tuning in. Have an awesome day, and we'll catch you on the next one.